to welcome Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba to State of the Nation.
Thank you for the gracious opportunity by you and your management in hosting us.
Hello, Ambassador. Ambassador, I'm not able to hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. I was just thanking you for the opportunity, and I was just thankful for hosting me.
Thank you. Ambassador, how are you doing in the USA? Are you not facing the wrath of Mr. Trump? I'd like us to start on a lighter note.
You know, we're doing very well, Pastor. We are grateful.
Ambassador, we have lost you.
That I am the Lord has, it's been His providence that has kept us so far.
Wonderful. Now, let's get started. First of all, I would like to start with your recent feud.
Some challenges.
But we are
Pastor,
getting there.
You can go ahead.
I'd like us to start with your recent feud between yourself and Dr. Nevas Mumba. Does this look like an attempt to settle old scores between yourselves?
Yes, thank you very much for that opportunity and the question. I know, Pastor, I don't know what the glitches, but I can get you very clearly, and I've heard your first question on Nevas Mumba. Let me just see if we can resolve that issue. I don't know why the pictures are replicating. Yeah. Anyway, as we are resolving, people can get the audio. I was saying,
we're really having connectivity challenges with my guest. I'm not too sure what's happening on his end. Technical challenges are bound to happen, but I hope we can get past these glitches as soon as possible.
Are we okay?
I can hear you with your face half.
Yes. On
right.
Pastor Nevas Mumba. And I'd like to act this way. I merely wrote a note to illustrate what is happening young people. I stated that young people have a tendency, young leaders, tendency to lose a grand opportunity to be leader in our country. Why? Because of rationalism, sometimes naked ambition. I stated that the life of Pastor Nevas Mumba was a clear example of great missed opportunity. I felt that the life of Pastor Mumba could be a good example to these young and upcoming pastors coming up. I stated that Dr. Mumba, having risen to leadership as a young person, made some strategic errors. Number one, his prophecy in 1991 against multi-party and against urging Zambians not to vote for a multi-party state. I thought that prophecy was made not because God was speaking to him, but because of political opportunism. He was abusing the pulpit. My other concern was that he has since made subsequent mistakes rising out of merely opportunism. I gave an example when he was vice president of to President Levi Mwanawasa, how he was appointed and how he lost that job. I was not attacking Dr. Nevas Mumba in any way. In fact, my first letter was really written on principle, not to attack Dr. Nevas Mumba, but to give him as an example. He responded by, malicious attacks against me, making false allegations against me. And I was shocked by that response. As you are resolving the issues, maybe let me hand over to you as you ask your second question.
Very well. Obviously, he responded to you, almost making some very personal allegations against yourself. I'm not too sure whether I am even qualified to speak to some of those allegations. What has been your rebuttal to some of those unfortunate, allegations against yourself, and especially to do with the second, president, the unfortunate incident regarding the second, former vice president, former president rather.
Discussing a principle, I was discussing what should happen if young leaders, because I'm seeing similar opportunism, similar traits by very, very good leaders that are potentially can be our presidents in this country in 2026, and they are making those mistakes. So the response by Dr. Nevas Mumba, where he personally attacked me, he said I need to take care of the family of the late president, that me and probably, he was insinuating me and Mr. Sata probably having to do with the death of the late president. Those remarks are not only criminal, they are not only defamatory, and I reserve the right to pursue these matters probably in the legal court, because there are many people that make these allegations. They are no ones. But when a former vice president who was eligible to rule our country makes those mistakes, makes those allegations, he must be held to the strictest of proof. To my knowledge, the late president died of natural circumstances. I'm not aware of any other circumstances. We had been nursing the late president with a serious heart condition from 2004. And he was given a period of 5 years. He outlived that 5-year period which the experts gave him. They had proposed that he takes a heart pacemaker or he has a heart transplant. Dr. Chiluba refused all those issues of faith. To my knowledge, and even to his doctors, he died of natural causes. So to pit the forces that go on social media, man of the stature of the vice president, shocked me. Like I said, I reserve the right to pursue these matters and to hold Dr. Nevas Mumba in the strictest of proof of said. Like I stated, to my knowledge, the late president died of natural causes. He had a serious heart condition from 2004 till we lost him in 2011. Pastor, it is just so sad that you raise a principle and people choose to be malicious. You raise an argument based on rational matters, then they decide to bring character and personal assassination. And that is what has characterized our debate in our country. Normal debate just doesn't exist.
Right. Now, to our viewers, I am hosting Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba from the United States of America, joining us virtually. Obviously, we have had a few glitches in our technical team. His technical team and our technical team are working behind the scenes to resolve and synchronize the platforms that we are using. We continue with our discussion. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, recently the Tonse Alliance emerged victorious in the Chawama by-election. Obviously, the main party there was the Patriotic Front using the special purpose vehicle of FDD. We have seen a lot of excitement around this win. My question to you is, do you think this Chawama win and the excitement around it would be sustained to impact the August elections? What are your reflections on this?
The decision by Tonse and the challenges regarding Tonse, in my view, were apt. There are various factors that made the opposition win that election. First, they had a good candidate in Bright Nundwe, former permanent secretary, Copperbelt. He had been trying to stand in that constituency since 2011. He tried in 2010. It was given to President Edgar Lungu. He tried in 2015 when there was a by-election, when the MP became president. He tried in 2016, but was not adopted. They adopted Mr. Schalo, who had been on the queue for a long time. He tried in 2021, and again in 2021, he was bypassed and given to Councillor at the time, Councillor Tasila Lungu Mwansa. So the opposition had a very good candidate who had a presence in the constituency. Secondly, the feelings around the current government are very, very strong across the country, especially in the city, which has suffered one of the worst load shedding, is suffering issues like the highest cost of living, crisis in living memory. And remember, that seat was entirely a PF seat. So I think that also benefited the opposition. It was a seat they were defending. They had a very good candidate, and the feelings of Chawama residents against antipathy feelings against the ruling party.
So, in your view, Chawama victory must be treated, independent of the national sentiments. Do you really think that what happened in Chawama could actually be replicated in the August 2026, or this is a standalone victory and it must be treated as such? I need to get clarity on that.
Thank you, Pastor. No, not at all. The feelings against this government are quite high across the country. They are quite high across the country. Like I stated, that the country is facing some of the challenges we haven't seen in a long time. We are still dealing with debt. They said they've restructured debt, but look at the rate in which they have borrowed and have borrowed more. Look at like I said, the cost of living crisis, load shedding. I'm getting reports on social media that it looks like load shedding is back. We had this hiatus where there was no load shedding before Christmas and up to around 10th, but load shedding seems to be back. And I suspect that the exports are back because the industrial outputs in Namibia, Botswana, DRC and South Africa are back where we've been exporting power. They could have been on industrial break. So the government has failed to resolve the issue of load shedding. The government has failed to resolve the issues affecting our people. We are in January and look, we have a crisis with farmers. How can we have a crisis of farmers deep in the farming season? Our farmers are already tending to crops that are probably above knee. They needed fertilizer at the beginning, and now they need top dressing, and most of our farmers remain unpaid. That in itself has been a very big crisis. So the feelings against this government is very high. If President Hakainde Hichilema was to win this election, he would win it. Not because he's a good candidate, he would win it because the opposition probably would have split their votes. What I've seen personally involved in trying to unite the opposition is that we might have a candidature of Harry Kalaba, we might have a candidature of maybe Given Lubinda, we might have a candidature of Brian Mundubile, we might have a candidature of Fred Membe, we might have a candidature of Sebastian Copeland and a plethora of other candidates. The project to unite the country, to unite the opposition, I think has so far failed. We've been on this project since 2023. We had first a working group of opposition where there was everyone, including Fred Membe and Winter Gabimba. When it morphed into the United Kwacha Alliance, we saw cracks in it. Went into Tonse Alliance, we've seen cracks emerge. Now we have the People's Pact, we have the United Front, and now we have this new initiative by elders. For me, a few months before, I'm beginning to give up that our people may have to choose among the leaders of the opposition. It's likely that they are determined in their own ways to participate in this election, and for me that scares me. It might advantage President Hakainde Hichilema, but also it might be like Malawi, where there are 14 candidates and the people of Malawi went for an old man, 84-year-old man, who they singularly just voted for en masse. That might also happen if the opposition were to win in our country, but we might brace ourselves that will have multiple candidates against President Hakainde Hichilema. It could be a disadvantage, or people wake up like it was in Chawama, where they chose to vote for one candidate, Citizen First, had a very strong candidate in Captain Mlenga. NCP had a very strong candidate in Muhammad Chikwete, one of the councillors and CDF chairperson. There were very strong candidates in Chawama, but our voters were very wise, and they all just chose to go on the candidate of the Tonse PF Alliance, Bright Nundwe. So we may not really be mourned with this division. Our politicians don't see it, that our voters are far wise than they themselves are. And all these efforts to unite them, if they are failing, like I said, we might see Makebi Zulu on the ballot, we might see Brian Mundubile on the ballot, we might see Given Lubinda on the ballot, we might see Fred Membe on the ballot, we might see Harry Kalaba on the ballot, we might see Sebastian Copeland on the ballot, we might see KBF on the ballot, and our people will appeal to the wisdom of our people to choose who they think can rescue this country, who they think is capable of forming a team that can change the course and direction of our country. A leader mature enough, brave enough, strong enough to challenge the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema. That decision may be left to our people, because the collective effort of you, Pastor Kennedy, myself, the elders that are involved in this, members of the church, bishops, pastors, have all tried to unite the opposition. And so far, the prospects look gloom.
Well, Now, talking about a fragmented opposition, I would like to stay with that thought and perhaps narrow it down to your party, the Patriotic Front. In Tonse Alliance, there is an announcement that they could be going to an elective conference on the 31st of January to choose a leader who they may rally behind. The bigger Patriotic Front, which was the anchor party previously before they were booted out of Tonse Alliance, they have said through the acting president, Honorable Given Luvinda, who was our guest last night on the big hour here, he has announced that the PF is going to an elective conference at the end of February. And then you have the efforts of the elders through what is being called the conclave, and some of the strong candidates from PF, like Honorable Brian Mundubile, had to resign from there after being, well, rumors came out that he was earmarked for an exculpatory letter, which later on actually materialized, but by then he had already announced his exit from the conclave. With all of that going on, do you think that in the next 4 months remaining before Parliament is dissolved in May, there is absolutely nothing that could happen out of all of these efforts? You think it has to come down to the masses to choose who they think is the best candidate among all of these? And I would like for you to speak to whether or not these are, self-centered kind of desires from all of these, presidential candidates. Is there not anything, a cause bigger than themselves that can tell them that let's withdraw and let one or two of us take the front seat? Does it have to come down to the Zambian people, or shouldn't these leaders really exercise leadership and introspect that Zambia is bigger than their personal ambitions?
Thank you very much. Sadly, I've been involved in this process, especially the last, 6-7 months, in trying to bring the opposition together. I have used my platform to showcase them and encourage them that they should be willing to lead and they should be willing to be led. I have hosted nearly every presidential candidate, all of them, I think 25 of them, from Binwa Mpund, John Sangwa, Sebastian Copeland, Given Luvinda. I have hosted all of them and I made them commit here on my program, if they'll be willing to be led in the event that they cannot lead. And they did commit, but it appears Zambians have to brace themselves that the efforts to present a unified candidate from the opposition may not work. In my party alone, we have up to 11 candidates. We're supposed to go to a process that should elect one. I am willing, for example, to withdraw. I'm willing to accept whoever will be winner, especially the circumstances I face. I don't know if colleagues are willing to do that. I don't know if colleagues are willing to let the winner be the flag bearer. This is just in the Patriotic Front alone. The process at Tonse, that will happen on 30th, let us put it very clear from the architects of Tonse, who were the PF and the late president. The late president, learning from UCA, said PF should be the anchor party, and PF, looking at that is the largest political party in our country, should provide a presidential candidate, and it should host the secretariat. The breakaway that has occurred, where PF is no longer there, for me, makes that process entirely illegal from the perspective of Tonse. because they've renounced the MOU that all these parties signed, and they've started a process where the Patriotic Front doesn't exist. I have questioned the presence of my colleagues, such as Honorable Brian Mundubile and others, who are participating in a process that has expelled the PF. Because how can you participate in a process that has expelled your party? What does it say to us, the leaders who are in the Patriotic Front? What does it say to us, the members? And all those issues are not helping our country. They are not helping the opposition. The opposition has been very disruptive. But can I just blame the opposition? No, Pastor Kennedy, you must be aware that we are highly infiltrated. There has been a huge investment made by the state to destabilize the opposition. They started by destabilizing the Patriotic Front, making the Patriotic Front attempt to have a breakaway. They've taken away the legality of the Patriotic Front and given it to a stooge from State House. Our member of parliament from Mafinga, who we expelled, purports to be the PF president. And despite all the court processes we've started, they've never ended in a manner that should satisfy the law, that should satisfy justice. Even now, there are 2 court processes where we're told that they'll be ready by first week of January. Today, we are going almost 10 days later, and none of the 2 judgments are ready. So the division in the opposition, the infiltration, is also as a result, not just of personal egos and personal interest, but also largely attributable to the state that has unleashed Levi Ngoma on all of us and is buying whichever voices it can buy. We hear there are some leaders in the opposition that go to State House in the night or meet Levi Ngoma at his farm. There are all these rumors flying around. So our duty as the opposition is to seek a leader who is not compromised, who's not in any way can back or give away the will of the Zambian people. The Zambian people are very clear. They've decided that I think the UPND time is up. Time is up.
Obviously, you have made an allegation against Mr. Levi Ngoma, who is not on the program and obviously can't defend himself. I'm just hoping that that could be verifiable information that you're putting out that is on a tangent to buy voices. Do you have any verifiable facts around that allegation, Ambassador?
Hakainde Hichilema, not on his runners like Levi Ngoma. When our dear brother Mal Sampa held that first conference, you saw where the challenge was. You saw where the difficult was. That this was a State House project. Look at the number of deployment. Over 200 police officers, very armed with the anti-riot gear that surrounded that conference. Look at what has been happening at the Registrar of Societies, where illegalities have happened to disenfranchise the legal and legitimate owner of the Patriotic Front. This has been a process by State House and President Hakainde Hichilema. We have stated from 2023 that President Hakainde Hichilema has attempted to steal, kill, and destroy the Patriotic Front. He's attempted to buy our members of parliament. You saw what happened on Bill 7, where certain members of parliament were even transported and paid a lot of money. They said to Livingstone and they said to Lower Zambezi to vote for Bill 7. So these are not political allegations. These are verifiable information that we've repeatedly stated that President Hakainde Hichilema has been engaged in attempting to destroy the PF, which is the largest opposition party, and in turn destroy the opposition. Look at the number of people he has jailed. Nearly every leader in the opposition is facing some criminal charge of some sort, or is in jail, or is on bail, or is facing an investigation. So this has been systematic attacks on the opposition. It is not only on the opposition, on critics like Brebna Changala and other critical voices who have not been spared and are also appearing in court for that strong, for the project by the state to attempt to leave President Hakainde Hichilema as the only leader to stand in 2026 elections, or only credible leader, or he should face a plethora of other leaders by his engineering to destabilize the opposition. But we remain hopeful that a leader will emerge who our people will accept and support, and who challenge President Hakainde to his defeat. Because the attacks on the patriotic front have been attacks on democracy. Many people think that it's just infighting in the PF, it's just political differences in the PF. No, this has been an assault on the PF to extinguish its strength in parliament, to extinguish its strength in the country, and to ensure that only the UPND is a strong party standing. And then they can say there is no opposition, because they think that they've destroyed the opposition. And that's why the entire country should take a cue from Chawama, because they've been preaching for 2 years that there is no opposition. But our people in Chawama defeated them.
Right. Let's move on and look at the welfare of a Zambian farmer. This year, the Lord has been gracious. The nation has been blessed with abundance of rains. Across the country, there is not a place that is complaining of scarcity of rains. There is absolutely an outpouring of the rains from the heavens nearly in every corner of this nation. Now, you will recall, Ambassador, that the government made a promise that by the 10th of January, every single farmer would have been paid. Today, without exception, there are so many farmers in different districts and provinces of this nation who are crying. We have seen videos, we have seen pictures, we have read and listened to news and reports of queues and upon queues of farmers not yet paid. And the worry now at the back of every farmer is how will they buy the input, the critical farming input, because they were depending on that money. Remember that the government discouraged farmers from selling their produce to the so-called briefcase farmers and recommended they must sell their maize to the Food Reserve Agency. Which Food Reserve Agency, today is the 22nd of January, has not paid millions upon millions of farmers that supplied the produce. What are your thoughts around this crisis? I call it a crisis because it's not affecting only a section of society. It's affecting a broader spectrum of farmers, especially small-scale farmers across the country. What's your reaction to this?
It is very clear that there are historical legacy issues arising from our farmers not being paid. One of the issues is that from what I've noted, from 2011, the Ministry of Finance, I don't know if it's under the direction of the IMF and they think they are fooling IMF, always plan for 500,000 metric tons, which is supposed to be our national strategic reserve. Many experts have stated that, in fact, our national strategic reserve has risen from 500,000 metric ton when it was set up in 1994. Now our country consumes up to 2.4 million metric tons of maize per year. Now, your national strategic reserve should be a harvest that should last you a year in the event that your farming season, in one way or another, floods, drought, or whatever the circumstances fails, you should have a national strategic reserve that should last you for a year. So, first of all, we should not plan for 500,000 metric tons as our national strategic reserve. already erroneous in our planning. Because in the event that we have a serious crisis, that's almost just 2 months supply. We should plan for 1 year supply, which is 2.4 million metric tons. So you cannot have a country that from 2011 now, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021 is producing in excess of 3 million metric tons. And you plan to buy 500,000 metric tons. You are planning to fail. Clearly, you are planning to fail for that reason. You know why? Because the commercial farmers have stayed away from maize. The maize issue is a political issue. A commercial farmer will not venture into maize because it's not sold at commercial rate. It's determined by a floor price issued by the Food Reserve Agency. So commercial farmers stay away. So if the country is producing an average of 3 million metric tons and you plan to buy 500,000 metric tons, there is no marketing strategies placed. There are no proper markets where our farmer can take. An ordinary farmer can't export to DRC. It requires, a proper value chain based with proper commodity traders set up in our country if our farmers were to sell to the private sector. So there is no capacity for our farmers to sell anywhere else other than the Food Reserve Agency. So then why does Ministry of Finance from 2011 plan to buy 500,000 metric tons? Because eventually when you buy the maize, what will happen is you either only have money for 500,000 metric tons, and for the 2.5 million metric tons or 3 million, there will be no money available to the farmer. The politicians will keep on lying to our people that will pay you on September, in October, in December, and now here we are in January going to February and our farmers remain unpaid. So one of the issues is in the planning, and Ministry of Finance has not helped the process. Number two, when government says we'll pay you by 10th, they should pay you by 10th. Today I saw a funny video where farmers were being told to go to Wengwa police station, that they should report themselves to Wengwa police station. Apparently they had sent, I think, a cashier at a police station to pay the farmers around Wengwa. So it's even very ridiculous how we are handling this matter. The pain of seeing those videos of our farmers sleeping in corridors, sleeping at banks, sleeping at FRA sheds is regrettable, and it demonstrates a failure of leadership. Remember that our president prides himself that he is a farmer himself, that he's a rancher and is a crop farmer, and that he understands the issues of the farmers. So how can we have this catastrophic failure of leadership in the agricultural sector since 2021? He sold maize when he didn't need to. We have high prices of mealie meal because he depleted the National Reserve and exported all our maize to DRC and Congo. The replenishment that has come is already exporting to Malawi before we can even settle yet to build our proper programs. It has been chaotic, and it's lack of leadership. And remember, that's why our people are asking, where is the president? Where is the president? Because if you have these issues, you have diesel shortage, and no one is talking about the diesel shortage. You have army worms that are ravaging some of our crops in some provinces. There is silence around it. You have floods that have washed away bridges and crossing points. There is silence. And that's how our people are asking, where is the president? And his team, Pastor Kennedy, do not help, because they show the president playing with his cattle or is walking in his field while the nation is grappled with huge crisis. Their actions do not help either in the narrative, because here is a country in crisis, and then you are seeing a president frolicking with his cattle. It doesn't show seriousness that there's someone attending to the matter. If his system was robust, his system was effective, we would have seen a team around washed away bridges and crossing points. We would have seen robust responses to flooded areas. I was looking at the pictures from Mozambique where the president is visiting all flooded areas in Mozambique. We can't see that. We saw one picture of Honorable Mutalena Lumango going to Lundazi because that's one of the worst cases, but the floods are everywhere in Muchinga, in Central Province, in Southern Province. Remember, in Southern Province, we have over 1,000 people on record that have been displaced and they're living in tents. So we have a crisis, but the response has been poor. And the matter affecting our farmers is depressing, to say the least.
Right. Now, Ambassador, the Mufumbwe illegal gold mining has sparked public outrage after the Army Commander, Lieutenant General Ziele, made a shocking announcement, first in Kabwe and later on the Copper Belt, that is under instructions from the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief, to exterminate targeted elements. Those are the exact words from General Ziele, to exterminate targeted elements. Now, I want to ask you, how did you receive this information of potential imminent extermination? But before you answer, let's watch this video.
Under the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, we have as a lead element the Special Forces. There is a reason for us to commit Special Forces. There is a reason. Ordinarily, I would have asked the brigade commander to get some of his troops with Zambia Air Force and go and deal with the situation. The Army Commander is not saying, as part of the joint interagency operation, I will go in Mufumbwe and open fire at enemy. We have targets that we are going to eradicate. And anybody, Honorable Minister, who is going to make a mistake of pointing a gun at the Special Forces, we will get rid of him. We will get rid of him. When I was saying there will be consequences and loss of life, when the bullet leaves the barrel, we have no control over it. It will hit this guy, it will go to the next guy, and obviously we're expecting an injury. Honorable Minister, you know that we're not going there and start killing people anyhow. We have our only targets, and those targets, we shall eradicate them. We will eradicate them by any means necessary.
The consequences, we have targets to eradicate, and there will be consequences. Ambassador, your reaction.
Student of peace and security, and I obtained a master's degrees in it. I was very alarmed. Those words have been used in Rwanda for the genocide, when security forces kept on referring to cockroaches. We've seen similar language in Liberia when there were those amputations where they were regarding certain people in certain manner. There are lessons from, like Bemba language, ukufariko muntu amala ya ambushi, because people are usually innocent. So to bring them to be attacked, mwabafarika amala ya ambushi, paktu wa ambo kununka, so it justifies your attack on innocent people. Pastor Kennedy, let's start with the role of the Zambia Army as defined by our constitution in Zambia. The army protects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country. So you see their primary role is to deal with external forces, to protect our sovereignty and the territorial integrity of our country, where our borders are, if we have threats from any of our neighbors or anywhere else. The army, otherwise, also have roles, for example, if law and order has broken down in your country, because law and order is a preserve of the Zambia police. But if law and order is broken down to an extent that there's civil unrest, there is civil war, or there is civil conflict in your country, you can summon in the Zambia Army, the Zambia Air Force, to then help restore public order. Zambia is at peace. We do not have a situation where there is civil unrest. We do not have a situation where there is civil insurrection. We do not have a situation where our public law and order is broken down to the extent that you need to bring the might of the army. The remarks by the army commander, I know you are a public broadcaster. You know, you are regulated by IB, and we have to be sensitive to that extent that issues of security are important. But when you have an army commander behaving in the manner that, you know, Lieutenant General Ziele has, not once, not twice, he's been quoted 3 times, using inflammatory language, threatening citizen, threatening to take away life. And the words exterminate means not just to kill, but to kill and destroy completely. That is a very heavy word, and he even repeated and defended his word when he saw the minister, Honorable Matambo, on the Copper Belt. To use the word exterminate is to use gaseous chemical weapons. So he wishes to fumigate illegal miners, he wishes to exterminate illegal miners. Today, he disclosed another serious factor. He says the president has deployed not the ordinary army. So he's not even taking the ordinary army. He's taking the special forces on unarmed youths that are just trying to earn a living. Why would you deploy the special forces, an elite team of your country, to handle a civil and civic matter? There's something terribly wrong here. And the army commander, unfortunately, must be held to account. Is a constitutional office holder. His roles are defined by the Constitution. When we criticize him, we are not criticizing, you know, a sensitive area like the Zambia Army or the security forces. We are worried with the effect of his words. If he wishes to exterminate any Zambian, that is already bordering on human rights abuses that can take you to the International Criminal Court. So it is a very unfortunate development. And he has stated again that these instructions are coming from the president. 1, to exterminate and fumigate. He's quoting the president. 2, he's saying that there is a designation of the special forces to be the lead agents. So this is a multi-agents program, the police, maybe ZETS and others, and, you know, the intelligence. But the lead agency, as he defined today, is that the special forces is a lead agency on unarmed civilians. And this warning today to Chingola resident that stoned the head of state at a rally. The language again is highly inflammatory, highly threatening, stating that he is coming one by one for those people. It's not his role. That's the role of the police. The army commander is stepping and overstepping and committing crimes, both in his speech and probably in the subsequent actions that will emerge. Pastor Mambwe, this is a very serious issue. When I heard it, I rushed to the constitution of our country. I said, maybe the role of the Zambian constitution has allocated these powers to the army commander. It doesn't. He's overstepping, and he should be called to order. And if these orders came from the head of state, he is a professional military person who can then advise the head of state. Mr. President, I know we don't want illegal mining. I know, Your Excellency, we know what illegal mining has done in Liberia, in DRC, in South Sudan. Mr. President, it's a serious matter. But Mr. President, I think let us take these steps. Your instruction, though lawful, if carried out, will have serious ramifications. It's a duty of professionals. I can give you an example. I was a PS. I had one single trouble with my ministers. Every weekend they wanted to go to the constituents, not on their own resources, but they wanted to create a public program in their constituency so that we can draw money from the public coffers and give them and pretend that they are going to work in their constituencies when they are just going to do partisan narrow interest of them being members of parliament. And our difficulties but are to stand firm. Honorable Minister, you have maybe 19 districts. You can't visit the same district, same constituency in a year. It's the only place you go to. You have 19 districts. I'll approve your visit to other areas, including your constituents, but in this manner. Let's set a budget for your work. The duty of professionals like Lieutenant General Ziele, if those instructions truly came from the president, his duty is to advise the head of state, who's commander-in-chief, that Your Excellency, these are bordering on illegalities. We cannot. And my simple advice, Zambians are worried about illegal mining. They want it controlled. But so far, what we have seen is that state apparatus are being used to remove the so-called illegal miners over land that has been allocated to commercial businesses. Our people go to find gold in Mpika, in Mufumbwe, in Kasempa, in Vubwi. The corrupt people at Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Mines quickly get that area and allot, give exploration licenses to investors from South Africa or anywhere else when the gold has been found by our people. Then you unleash the state apparatus to protect the areas that you have corruptly given to either foreign investors or the rich people in Lusaka. Our people can see through that you are using institutions of the state to benefit private interest. That should not be allowed, Pastor Kenneth.
Ambassador, you and I are civilians. I think the general in his courteous call to the Copper Belt minister did hint to the effect that they could have intelligence that might suggest that if they do not act, there are certain activities in those targeted areas that might impact on our sovereignty. He didn't give much detail, but he seems to suggest that they are acting on solid intelligence that has prompted the head of state to issue those instructions. Maybe you may be commenting from an uninformed perspective, Ambassador.
Justify, the use of state apparatus to secure private interests. That's all. If government is worried about resources being looted by unknown people who are not paying taxes, they should start by imposing taxes on the big mines themselves. We are letting the big mines export concentrates free of charge. We are giving our mines tax holidays. The so-called special information that they may have. The people mining in Mpika, our young people. And I would like to agree with Frank Tayali, the Minister of Transport, who challenged his colleagues and they were trying to stop him at the rallies a day after the president was, booed, stoned, and chased from Chwempala. They held a rally in Kitwe. You remember what Frank Tayali said? Mr. President, the people are allowing illegal mining is ourselves here. We have youths that we have sent in these areas. We get cashing from them. A month after Mufumbwe gold mining was closed, there were public reports by ZMBC and all of you where 4 young people died, 2 from Central Province and 2 from Southern Province. And everyone asked, but you closed the mine. How can then people die in the mine that you had closed. What is happening here is that the ruling party is complicit, the ministers are complicit, the young people they've unleashed and are protecting. Everyone is involved in this illegal mining. Everyone. And the allegation that there are certain interest groups that are being targeted is not true. Look, if they are foreigners who like to park near where mining is taking place so that they can buy, because they're the only ones with disposable income, either the Chinese, Tanzanians, Somalians, Sudanese that have come around, you see them in Impika, you see them in Kasempa. Why don't you do a cleanup, send in your immigration officials and declare them persona non grata? You know who's buying, you know who's mining, you know that you've unleashed cadres because of an employment crisis in our country, trying to look away. And like I stated, because there's been an approach that's not equitable. If the government was as strong on the multinationals to ensure that they pay taxes, to ensure that our mines are properly owned and that there are no tax breaks that are being given, tax holidays that are granted, our people will see. There was an earlier operation that was done in 2023 by the then Zambia Air Force Commander Barry. And I condemned it publicly because he went with a South African investor, if you look at the video, and was declaring the illegal mine in that area, that this investor has been given an exploration license, and he was removing using Zambia Air Force soldiers in Mumbo. I said, that's totally wrong. You cannot have a service chief carrying a private. He looks like he has hired our state apparatus to enforce the law, the issue of illegal mining. What happened to encouraging our people to form cooperatives? What happened to legalizing the process of mining? Why are we calling them illegal miners when they are small-scale miners? In many cases, they're the ones discovering the gold. The crisis we have is bottom up to the top. You cannot resolve a crisis that is multifaceted by using force and the power and brutal force of the army. You cannot. You are treading on dangerous grounds. So it's very important that we tackle the issue of illegal mining and the mining sector in general properly, in a proper, transparent and objective manner. These ministers that are involved, that send groups that are buying gensets, they're the ones that pay, that are buying food for these illegal miners. At what stage are they illegal miners when you have a minister deploying them to seek gold in these areas, to seek copper in these areas? When you know that there's protection, when the police move in, the police can do nothing because there is a call that will be made to Lusaka and the police are made to stand down. We have created a crisis ourselves. Government has created this crisis.
Right. Now, Ambassador, earlier you spoke about the absence of the president.
Pastor, over to you.
Yes, Ambassador. Earlier you spoke about the absence of the president. And I want to go back to that thought because we didn't exploit it fully. You commented on it in passing. I'm aware that you are one of a few citizens that have commented about the perceived absence of the president and perhaps the prolonged holiday of the head of state in Choma. My question to you, Ambassador, do you have any issue with the president taking time off his busy schedule to rest? This was around Christmas time, now into 2 weeks or so of the first month, January. Is it wrong for the president? He has been working hard, for the past 12 months or so. Is it wrong for him to go and take a rest, that it should raise alarm? And I followed your commentaries, I followed your writings, about the absence of the president and you commented about it. I'm just wondering, do you have any issue with the president taking a rest?
We are 61 years old as a country. There are lessons we need to learn. There are issues we need to handle. Let's start with Dr. Kaunda. Dr. Kaunda, there used to be public notice. The president would take official leave, it would be working leave, and he would go to Kasaba Bay, or Mfue, Chichele Lodge. The country knew where even the president would be, or Blue Lagoon. There were always public notices that the president would take leave. He would go to rest, and sometimes it would be a working holiday. And many times he would even, host meetings from his holiday base. There was no speculation or pressure for the president to come to Lusaka. And that was at the height of serious state and security concerns, both in Zambia and in the region. The president would be allowed to go and take a leave. President Chiluba also would announce. We heard, for example, that he would go to, there would be an announcement and he would be at a lodge that was owned by ZCCM in Mamba. That time, Mamba, I think, was under ZCCM IH. The issue is not the president resting. He's entitled to rest. Muntu fienga ifwe wants. The issue is when there is lack of information at all, and you're trying to hide the president, when your narrative is jumbled, today you say this, tomorrow you say this, you heighten speculations. So there's been no official information where the president would be. The last time there was proper information is we saw the president opening on the 29th of December, where he declared the celebration of Zambia as a Christian nation. Zambia was celebrating its 34th anniversary of Zambia being declared a Christian nation. He even made that day now will be an annual leave. That's the last time we saw the president. The next we saw the president, I think, was on 3rd January. Apparently, social media was speculating that the president was unwell. So I think his team, to show proof of life, there was that famous tweet by our dear brother Sishua, who asked, where is the president? Why are there allegations that he's been flown to South Africa? It was a tweet on Twitter and taken seriously. So his media decided to take the president to Daniel Munkombwe Tollgate, where they released some pictures. The pictures themselves had an issue. And they announced that, in fact, the president was going to have a rally on 5th of January, on Wednesday, and that after that, the president would return to Lusaka. The president had a public rally. Remember, there were unfortunate remarks, tribal remarks, and also remarks against the constitution made by the president at that rally. But the president didn't return to Lusaka. The president has been away for over 22 days from Lusaka. Is he unwell? Let us learn from Levi Mwanawasa, where people around the president kept on lying that the president was jogging, that the president was okay. When you tell a lie that the president is well, you'll be forced to produce him to public events, public work, and you subject him to work. We lost President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa because people around him were keen to demonstrate that he was fit, when probably he needed some time to get proper medical treatment, so then that he could rule us properly. We are at the crisis of President Michael Sata, where again his health status was hidden. And now it became so embarrassing that, for example, they had to produce a very, very, very sick president and bring him to parliament, where the nation, just seeing those pictures, just everyone cried that day when we saw the picture president appearing in parliament. When Zambians go to the past and see how official president. It doesn't mean that Mwamba or Sishua or you want a president unwell. No. We are learning lessons. If the president is unwell, tell us, we pray for him. Our bishops, our pastors then can pray for him, and he can be allowed to seek specialized medical treatment. But as we saw in the case of Levi Mwanawasa and Michael Sata, you'll have a tendency where they have to produce him to bring proof of life to a doubting nation. So those are now the embarrassing things you are seeing. Sometimes they're making him go live 3-4 times. If he is on leave, he's resting, he's not well, he's just resting, why don't you leave him to enjoy his holiday and rest? Why don't you issue a formal steady statement and say the president is on leave, for the next 30 days, the vice president will act, or the president is on a working holiday, he will handle some matters himself, but he's on leave. Kennedy, who will raise a question around the president if a formal proper statement was issued? But no one knows when the president will return to Lusaka. Why? Because your narrative has been like that, where you have not given firm answers to the issues that have risen. I personally condemn the speculations around the president's illness. I handled a president that was unwell for 6 years. And one of the cardinal issues I did immediately was that, Mr. President, I had to explain to him, I don't want people speculating about your health. Health is private. When I take you to UTH, we'll announce to the country. When we evacuate you to South Africa, we'll announce to the country. If you are in ICU, we'll announce to the country. If you are returning to Zambia, we'll announce to the country. When your next schedule is due, we'll announce to the country. And for 6 years I did that, and there were no speculations around his health because I made the information public. But that's my approach. The current crisis of the president being away has been brought, in my view, by State House itself, where they have not told the nation where he is, what he's doing when he's returning. And there's crisis, floods, bridges are being washed away. Our farmers are sleeping in the rain, in the court, in corridors. Our farmers are now being sent to a police station to get their money right in the middle of the season. We have various crises. And so the absence of the president becomes significant. I wish that we didn't have this debate if professionals can do their job. If the president is on leave, tell us. Give us a date when he will return. Maybe we should put pressure on Mutale Nalumango, who is the vice president, and ask her, why is there a diesel shortage and there's no comment from government? Why are farmers, you said they'll be paid by 10th. You even swore. But why are men unpaid? Maybe we should direct those questions to whoever will be active, recognizing that the president will be on leave.
Right. Now, our topic says, political factors in sight of 2026 elections, which is a few months from now. Ambassador, from where you are sitting, you are consuming information, you are interacting with political figures, as you earlier mentioned that you have hosted opposition leaders, you have hosted several high-profile individuals, all of them bringing out information. You yourself, you're churning out information nearly on a daily basis, by hour, by minute, sometimes by second. From where you stand, what are some of the major political factors that you are seeing likely to impact the August elections and the people's choices? What are those factors?
Number one factor is the state of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The opposition have demanded that we have an independent Electoral Commission. Currently, it's not independent. We have cadres in the board chair, Mangala Zalomis and McDonald Chipenzi, clearly open UPND cadres for a long time. We have persons of highly professional, but their role in the past. Brown Kasaro, who's the CEO and the director of ICT, Victor Kachaka, Dr. Victor Kachaka from the University of Zambia, who they've recruited as IC director, concerns around ECZ and its independence, and it has shown both in the voter registration, where there was a clear voter suppression exercise, where if you look at the figures of their targets in Northern Province, Muchinga, Luapula, Copperbelt, and Lusaka, they didn't achieve their target. Yet they achieved up to 92% target in Southern Province, 90% in Western Province and Northwestern Province. You have an electoral commission that is determined to disenfranchise Zambians. So number one, we have to deal with the electoral commission. Two, there has to be a proper public professional audit of that register. We understand there are underage children that were recruited. We are hearing a lot of things about the integrity of that register. There are things that the opposition must do. There are over 12,150 polling stations. If going by what has happened in Mwense by-election, in Kawambwa by-election, Pambashe by-election, Mongu by-election, Lumezi, Mfuwe, and now Chawama, if that is anything to go by, we have to monitor and protect that vote to ensure that the will of our people must be respected. There has been manipulation. The UPND, I can put it on record, and we've put it in official statement, has been collaborating with ECZ, We saw it in these by-elections, where our monitors and camps are destroyed the day before elections by the UPND. And on the day of election, our mosques are chased away. We saw this pattern from Pambashe, Mwense, from Kawambwa, like I was saying, Lumezi, Mfuwe, until also the opposition raise a proper structure to counter that. This election will be stolen for those reasons. The unit of the opposition have already lamented that it might not be there. What we may see is a plethora of candidates, and Zambians must brace themselves and begin to realize that efforts of stakeholders, efforts of political parties may not yield the desired demand by Zambians that they should field one opposition candidate. We are likely going to have a plethora of candidates, and the Zambians must brace themselves to pick a candidate that can deliver the country and can challenge President Hakainde Hichilema. We'll see the abuse of CDF vehicles, CDF money. We'll see the abuse of law enforcement agencies. My young brother and presidential candidate, Makebi Zulu, was in Eastern Province, and at every turn, there was the police to stop him from visiting our traditional authorities, to stop him from meeting our party structures. They were there. So we'll see an increase in the abuse of law enforcement agencies against the opposition and critics. And to Zambians, many people are saying this election is supposed to be our next independence. They are saying independence 2.0. Sadly, our political leaders don't seem to see the urgency to redeem our country. They have probably bought the narrative that is being peddled by the UPND, that they've resolved debt structure, they've provided free education, they've provided CDF. And CDF, by the way, is a joke, because you calculate 46 million by 150, comes to around, I think, 6 million. It's a drop in the ocean. 6 billion. Our national budget is in excess of 215 billion. So that's under 3-4%. CDF to impact anything in our country. It can't develop our country. You cannot deploy 2% of your resources to developing your country. You cannot. The resources in CDF remain inadequate. I've always stated that we should go back to funding districts and district profiles and district development. The money then jumps immediately Instead of 46 million, you are going to have money in billions allocated to districts and provinces. So there is this lie that the UPND has brought peace, that the UPND is repairing the economy, and all the troubles we have as a result of the damage done by the Patriotic Front. Something that, you know, in reality doesn't speak to that. Reality itself doesn't speak to that. For the first time in 60 years, we have copper price trending at $14,000 a ton. We have cobalt selling at $56,000 per ton. Cobalt used to be $1,000 a ton. Cobalt is now selling at $56,000 a ton. And there's no benefit to our country. No benefit whatsoever. Why? We don't own the mines, number one. Two, even where we owned mines like in Kansanshi, the 20% has been diluted to a 3% royalty payment, annual royalty payment. Number three is we've given and granted tax holidays. For example, the concentrates that are being taken out of our country, even when we have adequate refining capacity, are being taken away from our country free of charge. The Minister of Mines has given 7 mine houses to export concentrates free of charge. What that does is that you don't get the benefit of copper, gold, cobalt from there, because concentrate, if you don't monama trucks, masaka. That money then goes to whoever will refine those concentrates. Instead of refining it here, we are exporting soil, and there will be little or no benefit to our country. So there are many issues that have occurred that should ensure that our people should change the uniform. They should remove the UPND. The UPND came on a platform, number one, to resolve the cost of living crisis. They said they will reduce the price of millennium, cooking oil, sugar, electricity, fuel. They have done none of that. They said we'll come to resolve the issue of debt. They have not. They've restructured but borrowed more. They've even now run away from the IMF because the decision I can see we have a technical glitch from our friends. Yeah, okay, thank you. The decision by the Minister of Finance to run away from the IMF, our people should not see it as that we are becoming independent. No. He was here in Washington just in the summer, and he announced to the world that he was seeking an extension of 1 year to the IMF program when it comes to an end in December. When it came up to an end, the minister says they were abandoning the IMF. They will instead bring a new application. Why? Because IMF told them, you have not resolved your debt structure. Yes, you've signed up to MOUs up to 92%, but actual restructure is standing below 49%. You have not handled your local debt, which is in excess of $10 billion. So what we saw with the IMF relationship with Zambia is a break, because Zambia hasn't met the parameters. At the end of the cycle, we should have resolved the issue of debt. We should have resolved the issue of local debt. We should have, changed the structure of our economy. We have not. So with those failures, it's imperative that our people change this government.
We have to go, Ambassador, but I need to ask you this last question. You said earlier that you are willing to support any other candidate. You are willing to withdraw your candidature. Who is your preferred presidential candidate that you would like to see in the front together with President Hakainde Hichilema in August?
Thank you, Pastor. They said it's a long time. We are still at a stage where there are too many moving parts. And I remember giving this scenario when, the PF began to discuss the issue of leadership. I said the guy that might even emerge as a leader of the PF in 2016, we didn't know that would lose the president, but there were indications that the president may not go for re-election in 2016. I kept on saying it will not be GBM or Winter Kabimba, because those were the two faces that were dominating the Patriotic Front. So a day in politics is a long time. Whichever candidate you may see may be dominating, you might just be surprised that there will be a dark horse emerging. I appeal to the opposition to work together. See, even in this late hour, if among themselves as peers can come up with one candidate, but in the event that they do not come up with one candidate, I personally have raised my hand that I will support a candidate, and that candidate may be from the PF. I have a duty to support it in the PF. But if we are not meeting these requirements of a candidate, a candidate that can gather and have capacity to put a team together, Zambia, I think, is first before we are PF, before we are whatever political party we are. And I know that our people are going to likely to vote not for a party, but they might vote for individuals that can deliver our country. We saw it in Chawama, and Chawama has given us a lead where our people, despite the gifts they were given, despite the threats they were given, in one unilateral manner, went for a leader that they thought could support and be their representative. For me, that will be my approach to. I'm still hoping in this late hour that the opposition can give us one candidate. It becomes easier for all of us to rally around such a candidate and then to support and present him to the country. But I'm beginning to lose hope that we might have a plethora of many candidates, and it will be up to you and me to choose who we think we should support.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba joining us via video link all the way from the United States of America on State of the Nation. Thank you for watching, and Ambassador, thank you for making time to be with us. Until next time, my name is